Welcome back. Let's get into that market movement now. And as you can get a sense of some green in this market, then the JSE today enjoying some good numbers. They're back above 51,000 points. In fact, more than 1% gains on that front. The bank seemingly the better proportionate gainers today, more than 3% higher when it comes to those financial counters there. The finances themselves, 1.5% up, with the resources as well, 2.3% to the good. So generally seems like an overall good day on the local bourse. A lot of that has been pushed through by a semi-positive day out from Asia as well. Despite the Hang Seng going down 0.75%, it was a good day though for the Nikkei index out in Japan, more than 2% higher by close of trade this morning, 0.33% gain as well then for the Shanghai Composite. Positive numbers as well out of Europe, so that sentiment clearly playing its part as we get a sense of markets perhaps beginning to open up in terms of economy, so that pushes through onto the market front then, and investors taking heed from that. It seems that a lot of people have ignored, however, the US-China tensions by the seams of it, and that seemingly isn't playing too much into this market movement here. A quick look at your commodities though. Brent crude sitting at $34.62 a barrel, a little down today when one compares just what it looked like a little bit earlier this week then. Seems that the continued fall has been just because of the lack of surety when it comes to demand then, and where that will sit. Platinum at $835, $1,722 a fine ounce then for gold. In your currencies then, the local currency has been trying to be quite strong, but it's pretty flat for now, still sitting at 17 Rand and 42 cents then against the US dollar. 19.17 for a euro and 21.35 then for a British pound. That's the general picture. Let's zone in a little bit now. We chat to Chantel Marks from FNB Wealth and Investment. She joins us via Skype. Chantel, thank you so much for the time. So it's a market where you have tensions between China and the USA, but we're saying, no, forget the two biggest countries in the world. Everything else will be okay.
Well, it seems as if US markets are also forgetting about the two biggest countries in the world, of which they are one. So from a South African perspective, we will follow suit. What I did see, though, is that a little bit of mixed fortunes for Naspers and Prosus today. Tencent was down quite heavily in Hong Kong this morning due to those tensions specifically related to Chinese companies that are listed or dual listed in the US. So with that down, you would have expected both Naspers and Prosus to come under pressure. Plus, it seems as if Prosus will not make the Eurostoxx index this specific quarter. So, yeah, I mean, we were actually expecting more pressure, but here you go. Naspers is down, Prosus is up, and our market generally also stronger.
A little bit more about that Tencent story, though. The weird thing is that they have managed to now get what is essentially the biggest debt deal in corporate Asia this year. And that's a massive, massive deal. I mean, for the first time, they're selling, I think it's 40-year debt, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a big deal from that front. Is it something the market should be worried about for the future beyond the pandemic?
So I think that they're taking the opportunity while they still have it. Interest rates are quite low and debt is freely available, particularly if you have quite a strong balance sheet. For companies with a strong earnings growth outlook and with a relatively stable market, it is an ideal time to think about either raising capital or raising debt. In their case, raising debt is a little bit cheaper still than actually raising money from equity holders. We've actually seen a lot of companies take that option because of the fact that debt is so cheap, particularly in developed markets and even in parts of Asia.
All right, well, speaking about raising money, the PIC certainly has a bulk of it, nearly 2 trillion rand under management there. And the client now moves to becoming the head. Abel Sithole moves on to becoming the head of the Public Investment Corporation. Your thoughts in the investment community?
Well, he has incredible investment pedigree. I mean, he was head of the Institute for Futures Research at the University of Stellenbosch. He's got 20 years of experience in the financial services industry. Prior to that, he was chairman of the Institute of Retirement Funds. He served on the board of the Financial Planning Institute, and the list just goes on. He's also had 5 years almost as principal at the Government Employee Pension Fund, which I think is a reasonable stint. Usually what or sometimes what we see is that guys hop around from kind of government institution to government institution, and this does not seem to be the case. Yes, so I think that it will be very positively perceived by the investment community.
I suppose my big question also could be, though, whether we've done any changes really at the PIC. Yes, we've just had the whole inquiry into it. Has the board, has management changed in any way? We will hopefully chat to Royal Khoza, who is the chairperson of the PIC as well, a little bit later on. Do you think a sense of confidence is perhaps slightly going to come back into the PIC then, especially with this appointment?
I think a ship without a captain is always a little bit off course, even if you have a very good deputy captain stepping up and steering the ship for a while. It's also very difficult to make longer-term permanent decisions when you don't have your longer-term permanent head at the helm yet. So I think that this will give them the opportunity to really implement the changes that they want to implement with the approval of their new head. I don't think you would have wanted to disrupt that business too much without having the new captain at the head of the ship first.
Yeah. All right. Some equity news as well then. A few trading updates as well out today. Tell us a bit about those.
Yeah, we had a voluntary trading update coming out with Old Mutual, which really showed what the constraints of the lockdown has done on the company's distribution channels. So we actually had results from operations coming down by 33%. And much of that for the quarter was due to the fact that they weren't able to actually sell new insurance policies. Because obviously the guys that are actually doing the selling were under lockdown. And a lot of this relates to face-to-face contact. Apart from that, it went quite well. Then we also had a trading update from Barloworld, which was very negative. Of course, they're very exposed to the automotive industry. No cars were being sold and very little rentals were being done. And they're actually looking at retrenchments.
Yeah. Wow. Certainly does get very interesting on the equity front, though. But Chantal, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for that update. Then the market does get crazy. Hopefully, we'll get a bigger sense as well again tomorrow. Thank you so much for that. Chantal Marks from FNB Wealth and Investments there. Now, we do get to chat to the PIC chairperson, hopefully, right after the labor force as well. But my colleague, Mbongeni Mutwa, standing by then with the labor force.